Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us once again, and I hope all of you are having a great day as we get things kicked off here. And kicked off, I think, would be a great way to say that because, well, we're talking football today. But, yes, this is still a technology show, and technology is, of course, changing the face of so many industries around the world, and sports be no different. They have so much technology that goes into the everyday, NFL football game that now we have a company joining us today that's trying to turn the whole thing on its head, the entire concept of what it means to be a fan's involvement, not just a passive watcher or viewer, but instead part of the action, and really immerse yourself in what it's like to follow a team through an entire season. So to talk more about, the specifics and exactly what they have to offer, joining us today is, of course, FANchise. That's right. We got them back on, and we have the CEO and founder, Mr. Sohrob Farudi, here with us to explain just what they do, how they do it, and hey, how you can sit in the driver's seat. But before we get to that, we have a few things to mention, including ComputerAmerica.com. That is where you will find anything and everything for today's show, including links to our guest website, any articles that we do, any videos that we do, as well as things like archives, podcasts, anything and everything. ComputerAmerica.com. Check that out. Also, be sure to check out our social media contest, which we just gave a prize away last Friday, and we liked it so much, hey, we're going to do it again next Friday. And that is a prize from our friends over at Logitech. It's an M720 Logitech mouse. Great prize. Going to give it away this Friday. And the last thing is the video portion, where you can not only watch, you can not only listen to Computer America, but you can watch Computer America as well. And we'll be showing off the website, videos, demonstrations, things like that. It's a lot of fun, and hey, you should give it a shot. All right, now with all that being said, I just kind of want to really dive into today's interview because again, it seems like such a fun way to get engagement from your viewers. And we have talked at length about services such as Twitch or other services that really put the viewer in a position that they can really affect what's going to happen with what they watch. It's no longer and I think there will always be a place for professionals, for the NFL, for the NBA, for the professionals to be run professionally and to just showcase the best talent in the world. But there should be other tiers. There should be other tiers that everyone can get involved in and everyone can enjoy. So, to really make all this, to really put sense to this all, why don't we introduce Mr. Sohrob Farudi. So, Sohrob, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. Oh, Sohrob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Glad to finally have you on. And so, I was very cryptic. I feel I feel like I didn't get my point across what exactly FANchise is trying to do here. But I'm very interested because it does seem very different. It does seem very innovative. So, could you give us a little bit of background about the founding of Project FANchise and a little bit of your background? How'd you kind of come into all this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an idea that I've had for, probably about 5 years now and really started taking serious about 2 years ago. My background, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done a lot of different stuff in the technology and mobile space. And I'm a passionate and diehard, Dallas Cowboys fan. I was born in Texas. I'm a diehard fantasy football fan, video gamer, Madden player, and really kind of all those things put together kind of led me down this path of what I really wanted to do, which was create a real-life version of a video game of Madden, right? So the idea that fans could actually participate in real time with a real football team. I just felt like a couple of years ago, the technology side of things was there, mobile computing power and being able to create a mobile interface that would allow for fans to participate in real time. Kind of all those pieces were coming together. Esports and the esports craze and video gaming, has really started to gain popularity, especially among the younger generations. And so I just felt like it was the right time to kind of try something like this. So we found a league, the Indoor Football League, that was gracious enough to, allow us to have a new franchise. And so in October of 2015, we were awarded a new franchise in the 10-team Indoor Football League, which is it's similar to the Arena Football League, the AFL. That's probably the bigger one that's a little bit more well-known. But we got a new franchise, and from day one, we let fans make the decisions. So our goal was really to create kind of this crowdsourced, fully interactive team. So fans chose the city that we ended up being in. We were approved for 5 markets. Fans chose Salt Lake City. Fans designed our logo. Fans named our team. Fans hired our coach from 5 candidates that we had pre-screened. Fans picked the players that made our roster. Fans picked our cheerleaders. And then in February of this year was our first game, February 2017. And fans called all of the offensive plays via our mobile app. Whether you were in the arena or outside of the arena, you could watch the game and call plays just like you're playing Madden. Our coach had an iPad on the sideline. He got all the votes in real time, and he would relay the winning play into the quarterback who would run that play on the field.
Yeah, and let's jump into the idea of crowdsourcing this whole thing, because later on in the program when we do our computer news segment, we have a story about a gentleman who put $50,000 of his own money up on Twitch, and he lets the viewers decide what to buy, what to sell, how much to buy, how much to sell, essentially letting crowdsourcing a stock portfolio. And FANchise really isn't that much different. This is real money that you've put up. This is a real team and real careers that are on the line. I mean, I think a lot of people would come into this saying, well, that's not safe. Like they're hesitant to imagine a world where you can, kind of give that kind of power to fans. How does that level of engagement kind of affect, the overall team? Because, this is something completely new. Have you found it, have you found anyone who maybe, obviously there's going to be a small number of trolls and a small number of, just kind of naysayers, but how has that level of interaction with the community been? Have you found it, beneficial at least?
Yeah, I think so number one, absolutely. I think the level, I think what we went out and what we wanted to prove was fans could be successful, and that if you gave fans this type of involvement and power, that they would use it wisely. And like you said, you're always going to have your trolls, but what we found, and I think it's a perfect example, when we did our team name vote. So we did something, very different than a lot of, there's a lot of minor league baseball teams out there that have, done team name votes in the past. And what they do is, you send in your name, they will choose, 5 to 10 that they like, and then they'll put that out for the final vote. So we did completely differently. We said, anybody who wants to send in a name, send in a name, as long as it's PG and PC. We are going to put it up in the pool of votes that anybody can vote on. And we had a week-long process where anybody could come in. You didn't have to register, and you could as many names as you wanted on the list. So we had hundreds. I think it was almost 500 names submitted. And we said we're going to spend a week in this. Our final list. And those top 10, I mean, we had names like the Storm and Mormons, the Salt Lake Spaghetti Monsters, the Electric Emus. I mean, it was Teeny McTeamface. I mean, we had just a crazy mix of names, and we also had something fairly traditional, which was the Screaming Eagles. And so what we decided to do was, kind of wide open, let the trolls have fun, let's make this as widespread as possible for this initial vote. And then we dialed it in. Once we had those top 10 names locked in, we said, okay, now the people that are really going to take this seriously, in order to vote, you got to register. So we didn't put a ton of barriers, but we made you register name and email in order to vote. And we ended up with the Salt Lake Screaming Eagles as the winning name. And so what it kind of told us, and that was really early on. This was in early 2016 when we did that vote, about a year before our team took the field. It told us that, if you open it up and you don't put any restrictions and you don't put any barriers, you will absolutely have the trolls come feast on you. But as soon as you put a little bit of hurdles in place, so, trolls got to go through a little bit of work in order to troll,
right,
they back off and you get the people that really care engaged, and they make good decisions. And we saw that happen again and again and again, where if we opened it up and didn't put restrictions, you got trolled. And if you put a little bit of barriers where, people had to do a little bit of work to show that they actually cared about this, we got good decisions. And that just continued to happen. And I think a little bit surprised us that fans really took this power seriously. So it was really a great, vote of confidence, just even in that first vote, to see what happened.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I've definitely seen it go sideways for a lot of people whenever they do those online polls. It can go, it sounds like obviously the PG rating helped you enormously. The Storm and Mormons I think would have been hilarious, but at the end of the day, you have a good name, you have a solid name, and not one that you have to apologize for. So that's definitely great. Now, obviously, this is all leading to a point. This is, yes, it's kind of proving that this kind of setup can happen. It's proving that viewers can be a force for good, and that they can, crowdsourcing at the end of the day kind of brings together enough people that the mistakes get drowned out by the right choice. And I think the point of all this is engagement. We're going to talk a lot about how this is engaging fans, why it's important to engage fans. But let's talk about, new brands, new companies such as yourself, or, just maybe new brands that are just trying to come in and sponsor a team and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think gone are the days where you simply throw up your logo on a stadium and call it a day. Like that's not enough of an engagement. Your eyes just slide right over any kind of, poster in the background, and engagement really is the name of the game. So are you seeing that kind of change, obviously in like the AFL and things like that? How are you seeing sports and sports teams and maybe even advertisers, how are you seeing them trying to break the mold? Because the mold is so stifling at this point, it's just not working anymore. Are you seeing any kind of change there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is for us, kind of one of the biggest value propositions that we're bringing is an ability to kind of integrate, brands and strategic partners into the fabric and the ecosystem of the team, right? So, and I'll give you a perfect example. So, this play calling app that we have, while you're watching the game, you're in the app, you're calling plays in real time. So, some of the sponsors that we talk to, good examples like somebody like Buffalo Wild Wings, right? So we can actually, and we're going to be doing something like this next season. We can Buffalo Wild Wings can sponsor the Buffalo Wild Wings drive of the game. And so now, as a fan, I need to be in Buffalo Wild Wings calling plays, and those are the plays that will count when we're doing the voting to see what plays get called on the field. So you can create this real attachment to brands and sponsors by having them attached to the actual gameplay itself. and really create a unique way for the brands to kind of be part of that ecosystem. So two-way value, I think that's incredibly valuable for both sides and the partnership, and it really creates a unique level of engagement that isn't being done right now in sports.
Absolutely. So yeah, and by the way, everyone, just found this out. I don't know why it took me so long, but you can check out all of this and more over at, let me get this right, saltlakescreamingeagles.com. We'll of course include a link over at Computer America, and you can check out your team. You can pick out your coaches, and actually I think that'd be an interesting thing to talk about. You mentioned that obviously a lot of this was everything from the coaches to the players and right on down to the cheerleaders. I mean, all of this was kind of voted on, fan voted. How was the process of putting this all together? With fans, was it sometimes hard to say, that's not really the way I would go, but that's the way the votes go, so we have to do that, or did you kind of find yourself saying, wow, this collective of people, they're actually pretty smart and they made some good choices?
Yeah, I think going back to the name vote, I actually was hoping we'd get a little bit of a crazier name. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the Screaming Eagles, but I was hoping to be something a little bit more edgy, and I actually thought fans would go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little bit surprised that we were kind of more of a traditional name. And I think I think we attracted to our initial audience, and the initial people that were attracted to this idea were kind of diehard football fans that really haven't had a voice before, and we're hoping that they got a chance now to participate. And it's really interesting. We had participation from 100 different countries. So I mean, literally, we had diehard fans from Australia and the UK, and we had a guy, a Georgetown educated lawyer that was in Hong Kong that watched all 16 of our games while he was working in Hong Kong. So, it really brought together this unique blend of, both domestic people in the U.S. and foreigners who love the game of football, and really people that were just excited about finally having a say, and finally, fans were being taken seriously and letting their voice be heard. And so, I think that created a really great kind of, mix of people that made good decisions. And again, we saw kind of good decisions along the way. One of the things we started out to do, though, and going back to kind of coaches and players, and you mentioned it earlier, these are professionals, right? I mean, we sent, just from our team alone, we sent 2 guys to the Canadian Football League. We had a guy invited to an NFL training camp. So these are very, very good football players that can play at the next level, and that is, at the end of the day, that's what these guys want to do. The only reason they're playing in these smaller leagues is because they want to get noticed, they want to put together game film, and they want a chance to play at the NFL level. So, there was a very delicate balance between creating an entertainment product for fans and really giving our players and coaches the sense that we cared about their profession and that we wanted them to be successful. And so, there's a line there, and I think we towed it pretty well. I mean, I think the idea itself kind of eliminates 50% of players and 50% of coaches aren't even going to come try out or aren't even going to interview because they're like, oh, that's stupid. I would never want fans, kind of telling me what to do.
Right.
But we also, what it did was it weeded those people out initially. So we got guys that were really excited about this, right? They thought, man, this is phenomenal. I'm going to get a lot more exposure. I mean, we had, no other IFL team in history has ever had this. I mean, we had, write-ups in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post, and we got a big story coming out in GQ magazine. Sports Illustrated was a partner of ours. They're doing a documentary on the team. So, we really created a place for these players and our coaches to get exposure at a level that kind of had never been done before in a league like that. And I think, we created that really good balance between good football on the field. We only won 5 games. It was a 16-game season. We only won 5. But our offense was the 3rd-ranked offense in the league. So think about that. In a 10-team league, fans are running our offense, and we were the number 3 offense in the league, and our quarterback was Rookie of the Year. So I think we set out to prove that if you put fans in a position to be successful that they can be successful. And I think, we kind of knocked that one out of the park, and we feel really great about, and our guys that played on the field feel great about the way that the fans handled this power that we gave them. And we were in a position to win. I mean, we lost 5 games by less than a touchdown. So, I mean, we were in pretty much every game down to the wire. And so it really gave us a good sense of what could be accomplished if you give fans the opportunity.
I mean, you mentioned that you're a gamer. I believe that you use Twitch, in your spare time. There's something that a lot of Twitch streamers know. It's called stream sniping. Aren't you afraid that maybe the other coaches are stream sniping your coaches? When you're calling the plays in real time, and it's thousands of people are voting for the play to be played. Aren't you afraid that there's or do you think they're too busy with their own thing that they'd never do that?
Yeah, I think so. It's a great point, and we get the question a lot. There's a 25-second play clock in the IFL. So, the opportunity for a coach of another team to have time to communicate not only what he wants to do, but also try to figure out what we're doing. I mean, you barely have time to do that if you're just doing it traditionally, but to try to figure out the stream, it didn't happen. We didn't hear about it happening. We never felt that there were any points in the game where, the other team knew what was coming. So I do think, the further along you go and the more people that get involved in this, obviously that becomes an issue that we solve. And I think we've got a good solve for that. This initial season, inaugural season, everybody's vote counted equally. So no matter when you joined, no matter when you signed up, no matter when you voted, your vote was one of however many people were voting. We created something in the app called FANIQ, which is going to, down the line, basically give more power, access, and control to the people that participate more, that care more, that are better play callers. So, kind of create this ranking system, leaderboards, and really kind of this interactive, environment where people are trying to kind of be the top FANIQ, where you get perks and special access and a lot of really cool benefits. And so I think, next season that'll change the way that somebody could impact the game, because you no longer will be able to just download the app and immediately have the same amount of voting power as somebody that's been doing it for, the previous season or for a few games. So I think that's kind of our way to balance out that issue moving forward.
Right. Yeah, and let's zoom out a little bit more, because I've seen football, but traditionally my football extent has been, who's playing in the Super Bowl? Let's watch the Super Bowl, and let's fast forward through the game so we can watch some of the ads. Like I've never really been into football, but I have friends. They were fanatical every single year. They started up their own fantasy football league, and they even moved down to the point where they weren't satisfied with just the NFL anymore, because hey, they have an off season, that they went on to college football and they started doing college football. And like the level of engagement that I saw when they were not only following, I'm from South Florida. Everyone was, a South Florida, Miami Dolphins fan and things like that. But they started following, teams from all over the country, because they were following, maybe this guy from this team that was on their fantasy football league, and, this, that, and the other. I mean, you're really setting up a new level of engagement. But just for anyone out there who maybe just watches football traditionally, I mean, how are things like fantasy football, or how are things like what you're doing? I mean, how are they good for football? How could you convince someone to, get off the couch and just passively watch football? Is this more fun? Is it more entertaining? Is it, do you learn more? I mean, why is it so much fun to do things like fantasy football, or or what you're doing?
Yeah, look, I think fantasy football and I think gambling to a lesser extent, but I think fantasy football, changed the landscape of the NFL. And to your point, it really made me as a Dallas Cowboys fan when I was growing up, and even up until probably 10 years ago, the only games I would watch would be Dallas Cowboy games, and that's what I cared about, and that's what I was focused on. And really, okay, maybe I would watch some of the teams in the other in my division, but that was about it. And fantasy football completely changed the dynamic, because now you have on your fantasy team a player on 10 different teams, and now I got to watch 10 different games. And so I'm watching Monday Night Football and all the games on Sunday, and when games are on Thursday nights, I'm watching them because I got a guy playing. So I think from a level of knowledge and an excitement level where what fantasy football did was there could be a game where one team is winning 30-0, and usually that would be a game you turn off.
Right.
But because you might have a guy on the team that on the team that has 0, but you might have their quarterback and a wide receiver, you're going to watch till the bitter end because you want to see the stats that guy accumulated. So for the NFL, I think the fantasy football has become just an amazing platform. And I'd say it makes it a more compelling experience to watch, and it's more fun. It becomes a little bit interactive, and I think to what we're doing, until we did it, there was no experience like it. And sitting on your couch, calling a play on your phone, knowing that getting feedback that is going to be the play that the team runs on the field, and then watching the team run the play that you called. And it doesn't matter if there was 1,000 other people that made that same decision. You actually feel like you called that play. And there is not another feeling like it. I mean, the feedback that we got and the emotional response that we saw, when fans in the arena called a touchdown pass. I mean, it was madness. I mean, we had our first game, our inaugural game, the first touchdown we scored, fans rushed the field. This was in the first quarter of the first game, and fans rushed the field. We had to stop the game for 10 minutes because people were celebrating in the middle of the field because fans called that touchdown. And so, it changes the kind of emotional connection that you have with the team. And quite frankly, I think, our fans have a bond with the Screaming Eagles that probably no other football fans have, because our fans got a chance to kind of dictate what happened on the field and what they did. And I think, to me, that is the future of sports, some sort of interactive component. And I don't expect, the Cowboys and Jerry Jones to let me call plays anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But could we start as fans voting on, the 7th round pick in the draft? Yeah, I could see the NFL going that direction, right? Or could we, use the FANchise platform, and now maybe fans get to call plays in the Pro Bowl, because the Pro Bowl is a meaningless game in the NFL. So now fans get to call plays in the Pro Bowl. Yeah, I could see that happening, and I could see that turning the Pro Bowl from something that very few people watch into something that everybody wants to watch and participate in, because they get to call plays for their favorite players. So I do see this, 10 years from now, I think even the major sports, I think there will be an interactive component. I don't necessarily think they will take it to the level that we're doing.
Right.
But I think this is kind of the beginning of a wave of interactivity that is coming, and it's going to change the face of sports.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, from what I've seen, it's maybe if you are a large backer of a sports team, and you can, maybe pull some, hey, I have the money here, you have to listen to me. Teams set up their coaching staff, they set up their players, they set everything up. They draft everything by themselves. They do everything by themselves, and the fans are just along for the ride. So, I was going to ask you kind of what can traditional sports kind of do to, appease current sports fans, because, like you said, the fans that you're getting, and I think the fans that this is really speaking to, they're the younger generation. They're, the 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, they're perfectly content, maybe doing a little bit of fantasy football on the side or just watching Sunday football games. But, 18, 24, and, the 20-year-olds, they like to know that they matter to a team. They like to have that sense of community around them. So, it sounds like you really see this coming to, like you said, though, a lesser extent, to major sports, to major sports teams. So, hey, and actually, Sohrob, would you mind staying over a couple minutes? We're about to head on to break. Would you mind staying over to give this a proper send-off?
No problem.
Oh, perfect. So, so the music means we have to take a break. Everyone, we'll be right back with Project FANchise. This is, of course, Sohrob Farudi. He is the CEO and founder, and we have a few more questions, and then we'll wrap this up. But very, very cool stuff, and very innovative as well. So, everyone, ComputerAmerica.com. It has links to any and everything that we're talking about, and we'll be right back here with more Computer America. Stay tuned.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And yeah, we have a few more questions for Sohrob here. Sohrob Farudi, CEO and founder of Project FANchise. So, Project FANchise, and again, it's all about getting the players involved. It's all about, you know, crowdsourcing the offensive plays to run, things like that. And, you know, obviously the first season could have gone better, but hey, you know, it wasn't a tire, you know, fire. So it was obviously a success, and I'm sure you're looking into the next season to, you know, to of course improve. And sounds like you have new ways for even the fans to get involved. That's all great. So, let's talk about, you know, a little bit about your formula. Obviously, the season coming up, you know, season one, it's kind of your, you know, let's see if the tires fall off of this whole, you know, of this whole car. Now that we know we have a moving vehicle, you're moving into, and again, if you're watching the video portion, we have your website up with things like the fan IQ points, and there's a few other ways. But you know, how are you looking to kind of, obviously using technology? I mean, are you using Twitch? Are you using a smartphone app? And in what ways can people, you know, kind of get involved with what you're doing?
Yeah, so you mentioned Twitch. So we had two really great partners during the season. Sports Illustrated was the first. So they live streamed all of our games both on sportsillustrated.com and on Sports Illustrated's Facebook Live. And then about 3 games into the season, we got hooked up with the guys at Twitch. They really loved what we were doing. They were looking at, you know, potentially moving into some verticals outside of just kind of video games. And, you know, sports being a logical choice, and obviously interactive sports, kind of what we're doing, kind of blazing the trail here, really fit in nicely. And so, you know, we actually broadcast our last 5 home games. We had 8 home games total. So we did our last 5 home games on Twitch. The website there, the Twitch address is twitch.tv/interactivefootball. So if you go to twitch.tv/interactivefootball, you can see, you know, our 5 games. We actually integrated play calling into Twitch chat. So as a viewer on Twitch, you could watch it on your computer, chat obviously with everybody else watching, and then, you know, as play calls would come in, you could actually choose, you know, 1, 2, 3, or 4 in Twitch chat, and it would register as that vote, just like you would by voting in the app. So we wanted to kind of create this, you know, really interactive community, and Twitch was the perfect way to do that. And the other thing that's interesting, look, like I said, I'm a diehard football fan. I'm married. I've been married for 6 years now. My wife has never sat through a football game with me ever in our entire 10-year relationship. And as soon as I got the first game on Twitch, I didn't go to the game. I actually wanted to watch it from home. I wanted to see kind of what this interaction was, and I asked my wife to sit down on the couch with me. And she sat for all 3 hours. She watched the entire game. I should say she watched the Twitch chat. She didn't really watch the game,
right.
But she was just, you know, engrossed in the interactive nature, the jokes that were coming through. I mean, to me, that initial game we did on Twitch kind of changed my entire view of the way sports should be watched, and it this idea of kind of a community interactive experience. Our broadcasters in the booth, they actually had the Twitch chat open, so they would, in real time answer questions that the Twitch audience was asking, and the Twitch audience was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I'm watching a football game, and the announcers in the booth are answering my questions, which, that to me, that two-way dynamic, which, sometimes in the NFL they'll pull up a curated tweet, and they'll show it on the screen and answer it.
Right.
But that's not organic, right? And that's not live. And I think, we wanted to try to create that two-way dynamic with fans that I think really changes the viewing experience and the enjoyment level for not only the fans. I mean, the players and the broadcasters too have a much better time. So I think all in all, it became a much more entertaining product.
Absolutely. So yeah, and I think we'll leave off with this, but obviously you're one season in. This is pretty new, but how has the reception been for some of the other teams? Like, has anyone kind of mentioned that? Has anyone really sat up and noticed and said, "Wow, look at what the Screaming Eagles are doing. We should integrate some kind of some of the things that they're doing, because your engagement levels must be through the roof compared to traditional sports, or just the traditional model."
Yeah, there's a number of other teams in the league that are interested in implementing the platform, which is exciting. But one of the things we're actually exploring is, we never intended to do this for one team, right? Our idea was, this was kind of our beta test, and what we really wanted to do was create a fully interactive league where every team is run by the fans. Fans are battling, they're real teams on the field, and fans are calling, offenses and defenses, and, really creating, like I said, a real life video game of a league. And so we're actually headed down that path. We have a new website. It's Play EFL, so Electronic Football League, playefl.tv. And, we're going to be putting together a fully interactive league. It's going to be 8 brand new teams. 7. The Screaming Eagles will be part of that. And the idea is to get fans involved from, the very beginning in all 8 of these teams, to kind of, put together their identities and then go through that same process, hiring coaches. We're going to do a fan draft where fans get to draft players for these teams. And then, battle across an entire season, with the championship game, having a prize purse for not only the players, but the fans of the winning team as well. So, kind of creating that excitement, tournament style environment, where fans are competing against each other with real teams. And that is, to me, where the future is for us, is enabling a fully interactive league across multiple teams.
Right. Now, it's certainly a new twist on an old paradigm, but I think it's one that, if done right, and I think with the right audience, and it sounds like you are putting up, again, those little bit of barriers, and really curating the community that you want, this could really turn into something big. And I'm glad that you could join us here on Computer America to talk about it. This has been, I know for a lot of people out there, we're a little bit more on the techie side, but this is about as high tech as sports has gotten, as I've ever seen it. So, and I just want to say that, Sohrob, thank you so much for coming on the show. And, we'll definitely be keeping track of this. It sounds very interesting.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and happy to come back anytime as we move the league forward and kind of tell you how it's going.
We will absolutely reschedule you, and, maybe midway through the next season, we'll see how your team's doing. And again, this is just so cool. But that's all the time we have. And Sohrob, so everyone out there, Sohrob Farudi, CEO and founder of Project FANchise. Please head on over to our website, Computer America, and we have links to, of course, Salt Lake Screaming Eagles, to your Twitter, and to, of course, your Twitch chat and things like that. But Sohrob, thanks for joining us. This was exciting.
Yes, thanks a lot. Appreciate the time.
All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, and there you go. So everyone, once again, Project FANchise. It's a new take on, I think, the entire way that people play football or even watch football. But this, and I don't say this often, but I really do think that this level of engagement, this level of access, is the way that communities, either large organizations like the NFL, you can't stay behind walled gardens anymore. You have to move into really, getting the fans' opinion, seeing what your fan base is saying, because the more hands-off that you are with your fans, the less your fans are going to care about you. So the old way is only going to last for so long. This seems like a fun new way, and everyone, Project FANchise. All right, so let's in these last 20 minutes or so, let's do computer and technology news. And this is a segment where we do late breaking news, any kind of articles that catch our eye, and just, have a little bit of fun with it. So here we go, computer and technology news. All right, so let me weed out, let's see. Let me weed out the autoplay videos, because there are a couple of them in here, I believe. Here we go. Oh, nice. It didn't autoplay. Perfect. So we have a few articles here that we should really get to, and some very, very interesting ones. So, yes, some ones from yesterday, but that's just because we didn't get to those either. So let's start off with one from today. And this is, kind of piggybacking off of news from yesterday, but this, according to Recode.net and Mr. Jason Del Rey, where we have Geek Squad. And for those of you who don't know, we had an article yesterday. We unfortunately did not get to it, but Amazon was fiddling with the idea, or they're quietly building out its own competitor to Geek Squad, which, for those of you who don't know, is like half of the business of Best Buy. It's not just about buying electronics from Best Buy, but it's about their services as installers, their services as fixers and things like that. Obviously, I hope listeners to Computer America are a little bit more savvy and a little bit more willing to get their hands dirty in technology and maybe forego the call of the Geek Squad. But there's a large portion of obviously of America that is very much in favor of taking your laptop in, be it virus infested, be it water damaged, be it whatever, dropping it off, paying way too much, but then just picking up a week later. That's what people want to do. They want that kind of service, and they want it conveniently. Well, maybe Amazon has something to say about that, because Amazon is all about convenience. So here we go, saying that the new service is now live in 7 West Coast cities. Obviously, Amazon is huge in places like Washington, so it's obviously going to roll out closer to headquarters and then roll out for the rest of the country. But the news of this was not taken very well by Best Buy and Best Buy investors and stockholders, saying that almost immediately, investors reacted by selling out of Best Buy stock in a big way, saying that the stock was down around 7% as of Monday, and that the drop works out to a loss of more than $1 billion in market capital for the brick-and-mortar electronics retailer. And again, Best Buy is, Geek Squad is a part of Best Buy, but they're a large part. I think that's why you're seeing such a large drop. And, $1 billion just wiped out because a competitor announced that they are entering the space. Not what you want to hear, but regardless, it's the way that it's going to go down. So the article continues, saying that the new Amazon offerings include free 45-minute in-home consultations focusing on how best to use the Amazon Alexa voice assistant. All right, so they'll send someone to your house to explain how to use Amazon Alexa. Amazon is also offering paid installations of smart home gadgets like Ecobee thermostats that respond to Alexa voice commands. And, I've installed one of those smart thermostats. They're not too hard, but I guess having the ability to pay someone a little bit and have them do it for you, I can see where that would, kind of play a role. And actually, I've already seen it from Amazon and a number of retailers, where when you're checking out with a product, they'll actually give you a little checkbox and they're like, hey, would you like someone to come to your house and install this for you? And things like that. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that, and of course, coming through Amazon. So, Best Buy already offers similar services through Geek Squad, and they're saying that, but anytime Amazon enters a new market, the stock price of competitors usually suffers. And that since Geek Squad has played a critical role in the Best Buy turnaround story, the day's stock moves are no surprise. And they have an update to the article saying that today's news reflects what we know. Consumers love technology, but and by the way, this is Best Buy's statement. This is from Best Buy saying that today's news reflects what we know. Consumers love technology, but frequently need help getting the most out of it. The belief is central to our strategy as we work to help customers pursue their passions and enrich their lives through technology. We are excited about the range of initiatives we have previously announced that do just that and feel uniquely positioned to serve consumers by offering products, services, and support wherever customers want it, including in one of our 1,000 stores on BestBuy.com and in millions of homes around every year. Additionally, our 20,000 Geek Squad agents serve tens of millions of customers annually, taking a brand-agnostic approach to virtually any technology need people may have, just as we do online and in our stores. So I think what Best Buy was trying to say with their statement was something along the lines of, hey, if you do have an Amazon Alexa, or you have, an Echo, a Dot, or any Amazon product, or if you purchased it through Amazon, hey, still call, feel free and still call Geek Squad and they'll set it up for you. They'll explain how to use it. They'll help you with it. And, I don't think there's really I don't really think that there's any other option for Best Buy than to put a good face on this and say, well, they're competitors now, but they do offer one thing that Amazon currently does not. And that is a physical location. Although to be fair, that really hasn't stopped Amazon in the past from disrupting markets. Just because they aren't physically there doesn't mean that Amazon can't have an even further reach. So, as you buy on Amazon, as you go throughout your days, and obviously Amazon is going to continue to roll this out, as currently it's only available in 7 cities. And they said though that they have job listings signaling a wider rollout across the country in cities like Las Vegas, Dallas, and Miami. So large markets first. But yeah, this is going to be a shakeup. This is probably going to put a lot of those small town computer repair shops, and those are surprisingly resilient to technology and technology trends. Dave's computer shop, those are surprisingly resilient, but this might actually affect them more than the large Best Buys, because hey, awareness is key, and heck, Amazon Amazon has the best awareness of really any brand. So see what happens. But yeah, in the meantime, there you go. All right, now let's move on to something else. How about we do? All right, how about we do this one? And when I read the headline, I thought, wow, this has to be fake, or this has to be, sensationalized in some way. Well, the source of it is pretty darn solid, and this is from MIT Technology Review and technologyreview.com. We have a link in our show notes. And teleportation. I'm not joking here. Teleportation. And you think that is strictly for science fiction, for movies. It's a cheesy plot device for places, for things like Star Trek. Well, it's happened. They've done it for the first time, and the first object teleported from Earth to orbit. And I think they've done it before, obviously quantum entanglement, things like that. But this is the first time that they've done it to something in orbit. So this is 500 kilometers, which is, X number of miles above the Earth. And hey, that's a pretty large distance. And the idea of closing large distances instantaneously is the dream of teleportation. First you're here, then you're there. And to dampen everyone's spirits, to be fair, this was a photon. This was a part of an atom. But that photon went 500 kilometers. So let's get into this. And here we have it. This is the first object teleported from Earth to orbit, saying that last year, a Long Mark 2D rocket took off from Jaguar Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert, carrying a satellite named Messias, named after an ancient Chinese philosopher who died in 391 BC, saying that the rocket placed Messias in a sun-synchronous orbit so that it passed over the same point on Earth at the same time each day. All right. Messias is a highly sensitive photon receiver that can detect the quantum state of single photons fired from the ground. And that's important because it should allow scientists to test the technology, the technological building blocks. There we go. Wow. For various quantum feats such as entanglement, cryptography, and teleportation. Well, today, the Messias team has announced the results of their first experiment, where the team created the first satellite-to-ground quantum network, in the process smashing the record for the longest distance over which entanglement has been measured. And they've used the quantum network to teleport the first object from the ground to orbit. And again, I know it sounds like science fiction, it sounds fake, but to be clear, it's a photon, and hey, they really did it. So teleportation has become a standard operation in quantum optics labs around the world, saying that the technique relies on the strange phenomena of entanglement. This occurs when two quantum objects, such as photons, form at the same instant and point in space and so share the same existence. Confusing. In technical terms, they are described as the same wave function. So the curious thing about entanglement is that the shared existence continues even when the photons are separated by vast distances. So a measurement on one immediately influences the state of the other, and regardless of the distance between them. That is some quantum mumbo jumbo, but it makes this whole thing tick. So they said that back in the 1990s, scientists realized that they could use it to link. They could use this link to transmit quantum information at one point in the universe to another, saying that the idea is to download all the information associated with one photon in one place and transmit it over an entangled link to another photon in another place. Makes sense. Alright, so the article is a bit long, but let's get down to the meaty bits. Saying that to perform the experiment, the Chinese team created entangled pairs of photons on the ground at a rate of about 4,000 per second. They then beamed one of these photons to the satellite, which passed overhead every day at midnight. They kept the other photon on the ground. And finally, they measured the photons on the ground and in orbit to confirm that the entanglement had taken place, and that they were able to teleport photons in this way. Over 32 days, they sent millions of photons and found the position results in 911 cases, saying that we report the first quantum observation of independent single photon qubits from a ground observation to a low Earth orbit satellite, and through an uplink channel to a distance of about 1,400 kilometers. Long story short, they did it. They teleported an atom, and they were able to transmit information instantaneously from one to the other. And admittedly, the universe is a much, much, much larger place than 1,400 kilometers. That is almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. But it does show a continuation of findings that regardless of the distance, be it 2 inches, be it 1,400 kilometers, and hopefully, be it galaxies apart, if you have two of the same entangled photons or particles or what have you, then you can communicate between the two without having to wait for radio signals, without having to wait for light signals, without having to wait for sound, without having to wait for anything. you can communicate across the universe using the exact same particle. And that's exciting. That is exciting. And the future, of course, things like quantum mechanics that we have no idea how they work. And by we, I mean Ben. Ben at Computer America has no idea how they work. So, yep, exciting stuff, and can't wait to see more of it. But proof of concept is proof of concept. All right, let's see. We have time for one more, and all right, let's do this one. So we've talked about it a couple times. I promise this is the last time we're going to bring it up because, well, it's going down tomorrow. And this from Privacy News Online and from Private Internet Access, who we were supposed to have on, didn't, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get them back on here soon. But defend the open internet. Tomorrow is the internet's net neutrality day of action. And for those of you who don't know, July 12th, if you're listening to this after the fact, is the big day. That is the countdown to zero, and things are going to happen. So here we go. This article saying that tomorrow, on July 12th, the internet will commemorate a net neutrality day of action to stand up for net neutrality in the United States. Net neutrality is the idea that internet service providers should enable access to all content and applications regardless of the source and without favoring or blocking particular products, services, or websites. That means no zero rating, no fast lanes, and no slow lanes. Just an open internet that must treat all data equally. Without net neutrality, according to a recent, of course, without net neutrality, that could obviously change. You know, service providers could make deals with different companies, and let's face it, if this were to go down like we all assume it will, then they will they'll have no choice but to make those deals. If you are a Netflix of the world and you have millions of customers, you can't afford to be in a slow lane. You have to be in the fastest lane possible to compete with everyone else. So, even if they try to spin it by saying fast lanes and everyone's going to be the same, but then there's going to be super fast lanes, that's still a slow lane. So, according to a recent net neutrality poll, 77% of Americans are in favor of keeping the existing FCC net neutrality rules. 77%. Seems low, but hey, that's still almost 8 out of 10 people. Saying that despite that, the FCC plans to remove net neutrality protections from American internet users with a rule-making change, all done in the name of restoring internet freedom. Needless to say, ending net neutrality is the opposite of restoring internet freedom. To combat this, tech organizations have organized Battle for the Net to take place on July 12th. And here's the big thing. And here's some big organizations that you're going to notice tomorrow. Google, Facebook, Netflix, Private Internet Access, of course, Mozilla, Cloudflare, Vimeo, Snap Inc., so like Snapchat, and Amazon are just some of the big names that are going to participate. And by the way, there are thousands of companies that will be doing so as well. So the FCC has indicated that a growing number of pro-net neutrality comments actually might affect the FCC's decision on net neutrality. So the article goes on for a bit more. I don't think we have time, but just
90 seconds.
We have situations such as Netflix and Amazon are going to be purposely throttling their services tomorrow. So if you're wondering why Netflix is taking so long, they're showing you what could happen if net neutrality were scrapped. All right. So everyone, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Computer America, and tune in tomorrow for the program.
60 seconds.
As we have on the show here, and make sure I get this right. Yes, Sandy Berger, Computer America correspondent, consumer electronics expert, and joining us once again to talk about a whole bunch of things. And of course, it's always a lot of fun. So, everyone, Sandy Berger tomorrow, Computer America, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, every single day. Check us out. You won't be disappointed. And hey, catch you on the flip side. Everyone, have a great day. Bye-bye.
10 seconds.